Call this meeting to order. George, could you take roll?
Sure. Colonel Evans?
Here.
Mr. Grozan?
Here.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Here.
Mr. Miko?
Here.
Mr. Naso?
Here.
All
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This brings us to section 4, which is district goals. We have 3 district goals, stated goals. The first one is student achievement. That's our number 1 goal and a driving for everything that we do is to drive student achievement. The second goal is financial prudence. We always have to balance financial prudence against our goals of student achievement to make sure that we deliver maximum value to our students, for our shareholders and taxpayers. Our third goal, stated goal, is community involvement, and we're trying to, we're looking for any opportunity to get our community members involved, to use their special talents and their abilities to make our students and district better. So with that, I'll reach out to any member of the community who thinks they've got something to offer or could help us in any way, or suggestions or ideas on either savings or improvement or any of those ideas. We're always open to new ideas. So give us a call, send us an email. Love to hear from you. Item 5, recognition. Do you have any recognition tonight?
No, Mr. Naso.
Sorry, no. All right. That brings us.
Mr. Naso, yes, I would like to point out, point of order, that our treasurer, Mr. Anagastu, will be a year older on September 30th. I'd like to recognize that fact.
Thank you, Colonel.
You're welcome.
Welcome to your 30s, George.
Excellent. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Naso. First, I'd like to share with the board and share with the community. Today was the day that the state released the state report cards. And as has been shared in the media throughout the day, this is data that we had preliminarily earlier in the summer. We had about 90% of the data. And as was the case with Strongsville City Schools and was the case in countless other districts across the state, that our scores have seen a dip from previous years. This dip is not acceptable to us as a school district. However, we do understand that it's a data point, one data point for one day in time, and we take that into consideration, but we don't feel that it's representative of the work that our staff and our administrators and teachers are doing on a daily basis for the betterment of our students. But we still do take it into consideration and take it seriously and look at how we can improve and enhance those scores on the state tests. And so earlier this summer, we met as an administrative team and developed clear plans at the district level as well as the building level for how we were going to enhance these scores on the ever-changing assessment package that the state provides us. So I just wanted to share with the board that at our October work session, Aaron will be presenting, and we will share the results, and those results are already public and being shared. But we would like to take that time to share with the community and the board the plans that we've put into place to enhance our work as a school district, not just because of the report card, but because it's a part of what we do on an annual basis. So please rest assured that we have a clear plan. We're working that plan, and we have been prior to the school starting, and Aaron will be able to update the board and the community on that plan at our next work session.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to add something to that. When they change the tests, when they change the scoring, when they change things, you know, the scoring, it changes. You could give the same results, and if the test is on a, 90 is an A, then you get an A. If it's, 110 is an A, then, and you get a 90, you get a B. So as they change these things around, the scoring's different. I'm confident that we're doing nothing different than we did last year. It's just a different test, a different measurement. With that said, I'm really happy that they made the test in the grading tougher, because I think we've got an outstanding district. And I think it's going to give us a chance to differentiate ourselves with some others. And in the past, when grades possibly were given out and the testing was a little bit easier or whatever, everybody got an A, what kind of test is that, really? So I think we've always distinguished ourselves. We've got a lot of, with excellence, we've done a good job. And I think we're going to continue to do that. And it gives us a chance to look back And with any continuous improvement plan like we have, you plan, you do, you check, and you adjust. And that's what we do every day as we go through the process of educating the children. We plan to do something, we check it, and the check, we plan it, we do it, we check it, and the check is the test. Then we adjust, and we just continue this loop of process improvement and continuous improvement, and I think that's exactly what we're doing. So I'm not discouraged by the testing. I wish it would have come out better.
Sure.
I don't think my mic's on, but, we just got to dig in and get it done.
Mr. Naso, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I have a slightly, I appreciate what you said, and I certainly want to say that I appreciate Mr. Ryba and his team's positive approach to this news, which is not what we certainly wanted to hear. But I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't tell you that I was also a little miffed at the state ODE and the legislators, because I think they meddle too much in our educational system. Every year, they can't make up their minds what we're supposed to be grading or what we're supposed to be looking at. And so every year they change it and do musical chairs with all the tests. And that's not fair to our kids, it's not fair to our teachers, it's not fair to our districts. And I'm sure other districts have received the same kind of results that we did this time, and I just don't know how you go from all A's and B's to C's in 1 year's time when you really have only done better things. That's, English teachers will be on me, better things in the year following. So I would just like to say that, I think it's time for Columbus to stop messing around with the local districts. Let us get on with the duty that we have to educate our kids and for the board to supervise our districts, and just stop meddling and stop changing the goalposts. It's just not right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel, and Mr. Naso for your comments. The second item that I'd like to share, as Vicki gets ready, we'd like to highlight one of our goals and one of our action steps and our progress towards those action steps as we do the superintendent's report. As Mr. Naso shared, one of our goals is academic achievement and growth, and under that, one of our objectives is integrating the use of technology to support instructional practices and student learning. One of the specific steps we're taking this year is Vicki and her team developed a district-wide technology plan last year. We're currently implementing that plan, and we're implementing expectations not only to implement and monitor the use of technology, but to support the integration of instructional technology into the classroom to maximize student learning and performance in all academic areas. Last week, we had a great rollout of our one-to-one initiative at the high school levy, our high school freshman class. And Vicki's here to talk about how that went and where we're at with meeting this action step.
Thank you. Good evening, and we are very excited. It was a week from today that we officially started the rollout at the high school. And as you can imagine, we have the Dell 11 Chromebooks in case. It has been a bit of a challenge simply because the high school media center at this time is in a classroom. And so we had all of our Chromebooks in there, almost 500 Chromebooks, all the cases, all of the cords. And what we did was students came down during their study halls, during their lunch periods, and we called them in groups of 10, sat them at the table, and worked with them. And as you can see, they logged into their own Chromebook that they received. I'm going to jump back for a second here. The picture on the far left, we worked with Meta, and this was the first time for Meta, so we had a couple meetings with them, and we kept going back and forth, but all of their Chromebooks now are scanned like a library book. So the students brought their ID in, we scan the serial number, we scan their ID, and then it linked them in the system. So that we'll keep track of it. If something happens, they need repairs, they bring it to the library, we scan it, we give them a loaner, and then it will always be associated with them. So we were really excited. That really helped the process. We weren't sure if it was going to completely work, but it did. And Meta's continuing to work with us on some of that. So the students, when they logged in, sorry, wrong slide. As of right now, we have had 284 parents purchase additional insurance. We originally guesstimated we'd have about 200, and we still have about 84 forms that need to be filled out, so that number will probably go up. We have had one broken screen, and we've had one Chromebook left on a bus, and it was delivered to the middle school. So we sent our freshmen there to pick it up. We debated for a minute, like, should we run and get it and bring it to him? And they were like, nah, we better make him go get it, so he maybe won't forget it the next time. So 390 students have received their Chromebook, 84 still need to pick them up. One of our challenges, InfoSnap is new, the electronic forms for the whole district this year. So working through the whole process, the good news is about 89% of the freshman parents have completed their electronic InfoSnap, and mostly because of the drive through the Chromebooks to get that done. The students, we have a website just for the students, parents, and staff, and all of the students have access to this. We had multiple avenues that we sent out communications through the principals and through our e-blast. We also have a Google Classroom for the students, and only students can access this with their Mustang account, but all the information they need about Chromebooks is in there. This will follow them, so we can always update, and they can always get any information they need, and they can contact us through here. It's also how we keep track. They filled out their forms on here. And then for the first time, we created a Gmail class of 2020, and it's all in an organizational unit, so I was able to send all the freshmen an email with a link, and then what was very nice and convenient for them and me is they started to email me back. I mean, that maybe not nice all down the road, but probably about 15 freshmen email me with questions. They were so conscientious. They were like, what can I do? Or I can't get in with my mom, trying to help my mom and dad. So it was, we're excited about that aspect too. We have been tweeting out a little bit, and they were so polite, so excited. So they were like, thank you so much. These are so awesome. We had a couple upperclassmen had to come in for other reasons. They're like, I want a Chromebook. Why didn't we get a Chromebook? So, but the nice thing is now that all the freshmen have these Chromebooks, it frees up, 500 Chromebooks almost for the rest of the high school to use. So we are also working with all of those freshman teachers. All the freshman teachers will get a power strip in their room. Students are supposed to charge their Chromebooks every night at home. We understand sometimes they'll forget. So they'll have power strips, and they will also be targeted for some extra professional development and working with their students with those Chromebooks. That's my quick update.
Thank you, Vicki. Any questions for Vicki?
Nope. My daughter was very excited to get hers.
Awesome, that's good. She was our guinea pig. She volunteered early. All right.
Thank you, Vicki. And with that, Mr. Naso, that concludes my report.
Thank you. That brings us to public comment. We have two. Amber Beckrest, you want to come first?
I just came to see what you guys' vote was on the Drake Elementary School.
Okay. We're going to, once we get through all the business, we're going to go into executive session, and then we're going to come back out and give that vote. It could be a while.
Could it go to a private selling if you guys vote no?
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes, you're,
See, I've never done
oh, that's
Oh,
okay.
that's okay. Just step up and just say your name, and then just ask your questions, and we'll answer.
My name's Amber Beckrest, and I would like to, if you guys say no to the vote, purchase it at a higher price privately from you guys.
Yeah, so one of the two decisions that the board will have is to either accept it or reject it. If they do reject it, then it's an option, they don't have to, but one of the options is to just keep it for our property, or the other option by law is to go to private sale.
Okay.
So that will be a decision that they'll have to make tonight as a part of this whole process.
Okay, and then it will be discussed at the end of this?
So as Mr. Naso said, there'll be an executive session, there'll be a discussion. The decision is a public decision. So we'll come back from executive session, and then whatever decision the board makes will be made public at that time.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sarah?
All right, Sarah Markson, 20624 Albion Road. You probably all know that by now. Drake Elementary is right in my backyard. So I went to the sale this morning, or the auction this morning, because I guess it's, the unique rub that we have here is that it sold at auction, but it didn't really sell, and there are articles already out in social media that are saying that it sold. So I hope that you can clear up some of the terms of the sale, just for the public to know. I certainly understand it. But what I didn't understand was that the driveway parcel is zoned residential. And I guess my question to that is, what year did it get that classification of residential?
It's not the driveway parcel, Sarah. It's actually the parcel, the long, thin parcel that goes against the trees, the property line trees on Prospect Road. So the driveway is public facilities. The main property where Drake is public facilities. The long, thin strip next to that on Prospect side is residential. It has always been residential. We did I worked with the city and talked with them. They looked back in the history of the piece, and it was always zoned residential and never changed at any time.
So that's interesting, just for another reason. But my understanding is that if one of those parcels is residential, it's likely that the entire property will go residential, because they'll need a vote of the city to change the zoning if they do anything but residential.
For that sliver of, for that long, thin piece of property, that is correct,
But not for the rest.
but not for the rest. So
So could it, and maybe you know, maybe you don't know, could it, part of it be developed as residential and part of it as something else?
yes.
Oh,
So it's kind of like how we have it now. So it's zoned public facilities, but that little, that long stretch of property over there, there's nothing on it. If the district owned the property and wanted to do something school-related on that property, we would have had to go and get it rezoned.
right.
But since it was just vacant land for all these years, it never was. So in your scenario, if somebody wanted to do something with that other than residential, it would be a vote by the city.
Right, okay.
It's also a very small parcel of land, so it'd be very difficult to to parcel this thing out, to take that one little sliver and build homes on it, because you'd have to get a road to it, you'd have to do all kinds of things to it. So it's not likely that would work. You'd have to.
I got the impression this morning it was the driveway.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not.
It's not,
Okay.
It's
it's
not.
not.
No, that's breaking news. Well, this whole, because I swear I've been in a meeting before when we've said all three pieces are public facility.
That's what we believed at the time when we said that. We found out later that one, in working with the city, that one section was not. And so we made that adjustment with the auctioneers so that they were aware. But you are correct, when we started this and you asked the question, we did say that because that was the information that we had. But when we looked specifically at that parcel and the city did, we found that it was zoned residential.
Okay. So I will say that the $200,000 bid is probably disappointingly low, but really, do you think you can get much more? And was there a cost to the marketing campaign to get the auction on? And is it a sunk cost, or is it something that's contingent with the sale at auction to the winning bidder?
The cost structure of the auction is the only cost to the district was a marketing and advertising cost. I believe, George, that was about $12,000.
That's correct.
That is the only cost. Of all other costs for the auction and the process are paid by the bidder. So
Right.
that, to answer your question, whether the board accepts or rejects the offer at the auction, that money for advertising is money that was spent for advertising and is not contingent on the sale.
Okay. And my last question, is demolition of the building still on the table?
It's still scheduled as it was.
It never was part of a contract, as I can find.
Right, like we've talked about in prior meetings, that the contract piece is still, although not officially signed, all the steps and procedures and the timeline, should the board decide to demo the building, are all still in place as they were a few months ago.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, that brings us to approval of minutes. We have the July 11th, July 25th, and August 4th meetings,
So moved.
minutes. Thank you, Dick. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane, for the second. Any comments or discussion? George, could take a vote?
Sure. Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to the treasurer's report. George?
Thank you, Mr. Naso. I got 3 items for tonight for your consideration. And as well with item B, I'll have a presentation to present the annual budget to the board and to the community. But before I do that, I'll just go to item A. Item A is to approve the financial report for the month ending of June 30th, 2016. I initially presented this at the board meeting on August 4th as a fiscal year wrap-up. I should have had it on the board agenda on the regular session in August, and I forgot I had July's instead and presented July's at the same time. So this is just more of a formality that the board needs to approve this month-end report for the auditor. So that's item A. Any questions on that? Moving to item B is the fiscal year permanent appropriations annual budget. And for that, I'm going to move to the podium for the presentation of the budget.
You can share mine.
Oh, yeah.
So last year I put together a little budget document that kind of went over the general fund, and I highlighted it with all the other funds. For this year, I prepared a budget document based on OASBO's, an Association of School Business Officials, Meteorist Budget Program. And what that is they have a format of how districts should prepare their budget document where you could be recognized in a award program on that your budget's prepared to the highest standards that are out there based on criteria put together by other school business officials from across the country and international as well. Canada's part of this group as well. So for this year, I've put this book together. I have hard copies for the board and for the administration. For the public, since the volume of the book, it's quite lengthy, I have it available on our website as an electronic copy. I get the book is quite lengthy, but what you find in there is a lot of information it contains a lot of information about the school district, and not everyone might be interested in all of it. There might be bits and pieces that everyone's interested in, but it's all gathered in one place. So I'm just going to kind of review it real quick. Don't worry, I'm not going to go line by line or page by page.
Oh, please, all 460 pages, please.
So page 1 of 472, or 472. I'm just kidding. So it's broken down into 4 sections. The first section is the introductory, and that's supposed to be treated like an executive summary. And it's a liftable document. From there, what you can get is, if that's the only thing you read, you can get a picture of our entire, our financial picture, how it aligns to our district, how our budget aligns to our district goals, and some other statistical information out of that document on a high level. From there, there's the organizational section. And the organizational section is more of some legal components of how the district is structured, and budget timelines, and just budget policies, processes, and timelines, and the structure of the district, district map, and our school buildings. From there is the financial section, and that's the bulk of it. It's all kinds of different financial statements. It's broken down by funds, and then from the fund, it has the individual funds. So it's 4 levels. The first level is it's called level 1, and it's a wrap-up of all the district funds in one statement, and that's located on page 37. From there, it breaks it down into the 3 different types of funds that we have. We have 3 types of classifications of funds. our governmental funds, proprietary and fiduciary, and our main operating funds are in the governmental funds. So that's being made up of our general fund, bond retirement, capital improvement, and special revenue funds. And special revenue funds are our state and local grants, the principal's public school support, student activity budget, the district managed student activity budget, and food service. So that's our main operating ones. So from there, breaks down the governmental, and then goes fund, then it goes by fund, then within the fund, each department that's under that fund. Then at the end, there's the informational statistical section, and in there it gives a lot of good information about the district, from our tax history, our tax base, the tax rates throughout the years. There's even a chart in there on a chart on what the tax bill looks like for a $100,000 house over the course of 5 years, how our effective rates have been impacted based on that. Student enrollment projections and history, census data, cost per pupil information, and personnel trends, along with debt schedules. So that's the book. I don't want to go piece by piece with it, but just kind of give you a highlight of how it's broken down. Electronic copies are available for the public on our website. And just to note, last year, the recipients of this award, or to be recognized for this budgeting document, in Ohio, there were only 2 school districts. It was Berea City Schools, our neighbor, and Hilliard Schools. So across the country and internationally, there's 130 school districts do it. So potentially, if once I submit it for review, we could be the 3rd district in Ohio that would be enrolled in this program. So moving on.
Before
go
ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
And George, who do you submit it to, and when do you expect to hear results?
So we submitted to the Ohio Business Officials International, ASBO. So what that is, it's a group that supports school districts across the country. So it supports treasurers and business managers.
Okay.
So there's an Ohio division, OASBO. I think you might have heard that term before. So that's the state division of it. Then there's a national division of it. So it goes to the national division for review. It's reviewed by other treasurers selected across the country who volunteer to be a reviewer. And then we should hear back within 6 months.
Okay.
Excellent. It's just amazing. It's funny, I took a picture, I put this book up on the mantle on my shelf at home, right next to a picture of my daughter, and that's where it sits. And I took a picture of it like that, and I sent it to George. That's how crazy this book is. You know, as a CPA and a geek, the data in here is just incredible. And we've never had anything. To be the 3rd district in the state and 130 in the world who have ever done this, I mean, if you want to know anything about our district, look in here. There's historic enrollment levels. There's historic spending levels. It explains every fund. It talks in detail about the elementary schools, there's just a ton of information in here. And I know the effort that you put into, because you text us questions or call us with questions at 10 o'clock at night, Sunday, 9 o'clock at night. You know, I was like, George, go home. That would be the first thing we tell him. It's like, go home. It's like, no, not till I finish the book. And so, I mean, we appreciate all the effort. It solidifies, not that we weren't rock solid behind you before, but it solidifies our choice. And what a professional you are. It's just an incredible book. And I'm not going to stop thanking you for it. It might be like George's speech on Kasich. I might thank you every week for like the next 2 years. But thank you very much. It's just incredible.
I appreciate it.
Good job.
If I could, Cameron keeps on talking about it, and I will consistently, just like with Kasich, I'll keep
You don't go
mentioning
back
this, is that we want to be an elite district. This is one massive step in the professionalism of our district and our administrators for this book. You've taken that office light years ahead of where we were 2 years ago. So to become an elite district, it flows from top down, right? And you have to be the example for everybody else. So great job, and please continue.
Thanks.
And previous treasurers actually took away our departments. They blended all the data together to make it easier for them and more complicated for us. George had to go back and insert all the departments again, and then retroactively calculate what all that was, just so that he could chop it into pieces, because until you get into little pieces, you can't figure it out. Just like our OIP plan, the way that thing's developed as well. So thank you.
Thanks.
I had a question. Is this something that you do every year now, or is it every 5 years? I mean, where do you go from here?
No,
Do
it's
these districts continue this on an annual basis? or-
Yeah, they continue it on the annual basis, and something I plan on continuing to. I mean, the hard part's already done. The hard
Right.
part was creating all the statements, getting the historical information, creating the charts that are in there, the Word documents, putting all that together. So now that's all together. It's essentially updating it for the current year and the year that's passed. So what's in there in the statements? You have 4 years of history, the current year, and 3 years projection. So the projections I do along with the 5-year forecast. So next board meeting, I'll be presenting the 5-year forecast. So it kind of goes, the timing of it's together. So essentially taking that and just inserting it into here. So,
Great job. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
So moving on, the rest of the presentation's a little bit different than what I've normally presented, since I am going to be presenting the 5-year forecast next board meeting. So I kind of wanted to mix it up and just keep it at a high level. And then I'll go more in detail next board meeting with the 5-year forecast. So moving on to our, so one of our district goals, financial prudence, as Mr. Nasos talked about, but an objective under there was to maintain financial management practices and create a culture of budget consciences that focus on focused spending, and that ensures focused spending. So what we did was, we met with the departments earlier in the spring to kind of develop their budget to see what their priorities were, and came up with what they're going to do next year and how that budget's aligning to it. And as Mr. Ryber presented at the last board meeting, what's new for 2016-17, I took that and showed where the dollars are going to that, how much the district's investing. So I'm not going to repeat all of these as they were already presented, but one of our goals is academic achievement and growth. So we had our textbook adoption. So we invested $500,000 there. And for this year, it went into the social studies adoption, the music, PK secondary, the German adoption, AP art history, and AP environmental science. Our next investment was, as Vicki just presented, our technology integration. Overall, we invested $900,000 in the district invested $900,000 into that integration. And where the money's coming from there is, so the one-to-one tech Chromebook initiative. Last year, the board had increased the technology budget by $500,000 to fund this. So we had that $500,000 additional. The current tech budget had $200,000 already built in for capital outlay, so that got us up to $700,000. And this year, we did the the interactive projector project, which was last year's $200,000 that got carried into this year, that we've upgraded our projectors in the buildings. So we invested $900,000 in technology to align with the budget. And then the Strongsville Academy, we repurposed $200,000 from the Ohio Online program to keep the students on our district, which ultimately is taking them away from community schools where we would lose those students, and the money would flow to ECOT. So now we're educating those kids online, but they're still Strongsville students and want a Strongsville degree. Our next goal, community engagement. There's really not too much financial ties to this. There's a small investment that we'll do for the quality profile and mailings that goes along with it. And then financial prudence, organizational efficiency efforts. Over the summer, we implemented our student fee collections. So far, we've seen a greater collection over the summer that we have for delinquent fees. We transitioned, the chart was for a food service operation. There we're estimating to eliminate a general fund subsidy of $100,000 to $200,000. We opened a brand new middle school and renovated a high school. Altogether there, that's a $73 million multi-year community investment. And also another $1.8 million community investment for the new turfs at both Strongsville High School and Strongsville Middle School. And then also putting together this budget book to increase transparency and also our credibility with the Meteorist Budget Award Program. So throughout the years, we've talked about financial prudence. So this next two slides kind of recap the cost savings that we've had this year and the previous years and what's estimated for the future as well. So since 2010, the district has eliminated 6 buildings and repurposed 1, this building, as an administrative building to save resources and maximize educational offerings. So in 2010, we closed Allen. It was demolished in 13. Zellers closed in 15. It was repurposed in 2016. Over the course of the summer, we've closed Albion Center, OPS, and the board office, and which ultimately will be scheduled for demo in by calendar year 2017, and also making a decision on Drake tonight. And then moving on for the next point of financial prudence, we had savings in healthcare. In 2014, we switched to a fully insured healthcare plan. Since the switch, we saved $2.8 million from 2014 to the end of last school year from being self-insured versus a fully insured plan. As our enrollment declined and as we closed buildings, we have less positions than we have previously. So since 2009, there are 212 less positions in the district, which is a 23% decline, which is keeping up with the declining enrollment. In last school year, from 15 to 16, we were able to reduce 24 positions, which saved $1.4 million. From last school year to this school year, we reduced about 26 positions, which is saving us about $525,000. And you might say the math doesn't add up between the first and the last one, but it was basically the type of positions that were reduced. In the from 15 to 16, it was more certificated teaching positions, versus this past year was more classified positions. So the pay scale was a little different between the cost and the pay scale was a little different between those positions. And then if enrollment continues to decline, and as we see in fluctuations, we're anticipating reducing 5 positions next school year and another 9 in 2019. As mentioned before, the other cost-saving measures was the Strongsville Academy. Personnel trends, just kind of what I touched on. The number of positions we've reduced, you can kind of get a highlight there. Positions by category. So from 15 to 16, as you can see there was more teachers, and last year was more aides being reduced. But overall, for this upcoming school year, we have about 702 positions compared to 728 from last school year. And the breakout of it is 48% of our staff is teachers, while 14% are aides. So for a total of 62% of our positions are in the classroom. There's 4% of our total staff is administrative, and that's more of what is in that category is principals, assistant principals, and people here in this building that are either supervisors or director roles. So kind of getting more into the financial aspect. So our governmental funds, as mentioned, our governmental funds is made up of the general fund, bond retirement funds, capital project funds, and special revenue funds. Those funds combined, last year we brought in $84 million worth of revenue, while majority of it was in the general fund. And this year I'm anticipating $83 million, rounding up to $84 million in the overall for these funds. So a decrease of about $600,000. And that's more or less, I'll touch on it more next week in the 5-year forecast, but it's more or less with the taxes. It's not receiving less taxes, it was just when the timing of when the taxes were paid and collected. Just when the tax bills were paid, and at the end of the last calendar year, the commercial businesses paid 100%, paid more percent of their bill at the end of the year than going into this calendar year. For their first half, they paid more percent of the bill at that time. So together, for us, it was one fiscal year. So coming up in this fiscal year, I'm anticipating the fall to be a little bit less because the majority was paid in the spring. So that's why I'm seeing the fluctuations in property taxes. And then as you can see, based on the bottom graph, the buckets that we're receiving it in is local source in blue, federal in red, and state in green. You can see it's pretty consistent from year to year, the amounts that we're getting, except with 2013 where was that big spike, and that was just the bond proceeds from the bond levy. Slide 13, it's more of a detail and breakout of the dollars. And then slide 14, governmental fund expenditures. Our actuals last year for these categories were $115 million. This year I'm projecting $88 million. It's a $27 million decrease, and a lot of that is due to the construction project. One-time dollars, majority of those dollars were spent last school year that we're not spending this year. The biggest fund was the general fund. We saw an increase of about $5.3 million there, and it's a combination of various things that make up to that, kind of add up to that increase. I'll go in more detail next week at the 5-year forecast, but just to highlight what a few of those things are is $1.5 million increase in salaries, 0.7 increase, these are all net increases, so there were reductions and increases that kind of brought me to a net number. So net 1.5 million in salaries, 0.7 in benefits, 1.5 in purchase services, where a good portion of that was tuition to other districts, 0.7 increase in materials and supplies, and $500,000 in capital outlay increase. And on slide 15 is just the detail of by object code or where the dollars are being spent. So of the $88 million, about 69% is in salaries and benefits. And again, this is all governmental funds, so normally with the general fund, it's about 80%. The difference that it's bringing down here is there's the construction dollars that are made up of this as well. Next slide, proprietary funds. These funds are funds that generate a fee, that we charge a fee for services and for materials. So what's made up in here is our uniform school supplies funds, which is indicated under the enterprise funds, and also the internal service is our self-insurance for employee benefits. Seeing a slight increase there, and that's due to the healthcare costs are projecting to increase by 10% from one year to the next. So it's the collection and the payment of that. And then fiduciary funds, these are made up of our agency funds, where we're just a placeholder. We have two agency funds, and it's the student-managed student activity funds and the OSHA tournament fund, where when we host the tournament, state tournament playoff game, the monies flow through us and given back to the state. And just to kind of recap on our financial prudence, and this next slide is more or less looking at the general fund. So when I was going over the expenditures, I kind of mentioned the numbers I was saying were net numbers. There's factors that increase the budget, and we deal with those factors every year. And then we have to take action to kind of bring our budget down to the dollars that we receive in order to have a balanced budget. So what this slide, a waterfall slide, kind of shows is the impacts of what our budget would be with all those factors going in and the reductions that we had to make to bring it down. So in 2014, our actual expenditures were $68.5 million. Since 2014, we had salary increases of about $4.7 million. And then we had healthcare costs that represent about $4.2 million. And then we had tuition and other increases that represented close to another $3 million. So that would have brought our budget to $80 million. What we were able to do by reducing the number of positions based on our enrollment decline, we were able to reduce our budget by $2.7 million. By switching over to self-insurance, we were able to reduce our budget by $2.8 million over the course of the years. We had other adjustments for efficiencies for $2.5 million. So essentially this year we're looking at a general fund budget of $17.2 million. So cumulatively these savings throughout the course of the years have an impact from year to year, which add up when we're talking to a single year, which we're able to bring down our budget by $8 million for this year to what it could have been.
I think it's a really good chart there. I mean, it shows what we could have been without the financial prudence side of it kicking in,
Right.
right? So, nice work.
And that concludes the presentation, if there's any questions.
It's just amazing to me that our healthcare costs go up $4.2 million. We work our tails off to consolidate, run the district as sharp as we can, and I always say we try to run it like a business. Reduction of staffs, we go self-insured, and those two components alone barely covers us for just our healthcare increases.
Right.
I mean, just the cost of living. You pay more for milk every day, you pay more for your health insurance every day, and the reality is we buy a lot more milk than most families, right? So, I mean, the costs just keep driving up, and every year we're getting more creative on how we can reduce those costs. So, good report.
Thanks. Is that it?
That's it. Thank you very much.
All right, and I have one more item, so I'll just stay up here. So it's the transfer of funds, which is Exhibit C for your consideration. And what that is we've closed Drake. There are student activity accounts in the funds 200, 300s, and 18 that they're being divided to the buildings where the students went. We took a percentage of how the students were split up and just moving those dollars to Soror and Whitney Elementary and Muraski. And then from Albion and Center, it's just taking those same types of funds, the student activities, and moving it to Strongsville Middle School. So the Exhibit C kind of details out where the funds were and where the funds are going. So if there are no further questions, that concludes my report.
Nope, I think we're good.
Thanks.
Thank you, well done. That brings us to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Nate. So just a couple items for me under timely information. First of all, as the agenda states, we will hold our first fall parent-teacher conferences on October 4th and October 12th. Those are evening sessions we changed a few years ago. School will be in session on both of those days, and the conference times for those evenings are listed below. Also, next Friday, September 23rd, will be our first professional development day of the school year. That is a day of work for our teachers and administrative team and some of our support staff that'll have PD on that day, but it is a day without school for our students. So Aaron and Andy and Vicki and Jenny have worked hard over the past few months planning a stellar professional development day for all of our staff, and we look forward to kicking that off on Friday. And that is it for timely information, unless there's
What's
questions.
the date of the professional development day?
Friday, September 23rd. So next Friday, no school for students.
All right.
All right, moving on. Mark Donnelly, business manager, will share his business service report for this month.
Thank you, Mr. Riva. Mr. Riva, good evening, Board. Under Business Services tonight, I'll wait for the computer to update whatever it's going to do.
Just hit close. Just hit the close program there in that box.
Yeah, I got to find my mouse. I can't bring it down.
You may need some triage, Vicki.
Oh, I hit presentation mode.
Yeah, you're not. There you go.
Thank you for the help. Anyway, tonight, a discussion item, I have a construction renovation project update, and this more than likely, it's not the very last one, but they will not be every month from this point forward due to, we are at that point in the project where there's very little updates to go on because we've all seen the new football fields, we've all been through the new high school, we've all seen the new middle school, we've had some great events in all those facilities. It's been a great process. We've just this last week canceled future core meetings because we feel we're at that point. The construction team meetings will continue for the next 4 months, but we're in a good spot with our construction project. Last month, this was our middle school. This month, we have our landscaping and whatnot in. I'm showing the updates and things that have changed in the last few weeks. Last month, our parking lot was not done. Now our parking lot is full of cars and the driveway is almost completed. They'll be working on that. If weather permits this weekend, maybe we get our final coat of paving on. They'll be deciding that tomorrow. Last month, our football field was all gravel. And this month, our football field looks like a football field. Last month, our track was just being put down and being laid out and leveled all this. And this month, we have the base course of asphalt that has to set up for a month. Very soon, they'll put in, probably mid-October, they'll put in the final coating, the all-weather surface, and then they have the striping and all the lines for all the different events they have to put in. Last month, we didn't have landscaping in. You can't see the grass growing, and you get the right angle in the shop, but there's grass that's already growing behind the school in the courtyard and all around the building. What's next for the middle school? The track will be completed by the end of October. Track storage building will be completed by mid-November. Parking to be completed in 2 weeks, weather permitting. Could be completed this weekend, but I think we're going to get some rain that'll hold that up a little bit.
I remember when we talked about the parking lots not being done until Thanksgiving last year when we talked about it.
We were worried about that,
Remember, they said
actually.
we might not be ready till Thanksgiving with those parking lots. And look at it, look what it is.
Our construction manager, our architect, our owner's agent, everybody, they really made it happen. They did. Our electronic message display, which is right at the entrance to the middle school out on Pearl Road, will be ready in the next couple of weeks. The punch list and closeout process will be coordinated with the contractor and building staff. That's an ongoing process over the next several months to make sure that we iron out all the little bumps in the road that comes with construction. An 11-month walkthrough to be held in May of 2017. That's our final opportunity to say, we've had all these items on the list, I don't know, whatever, 20, 30, 40 items. They're all addressed except whatever 1, 2 items left. Let's get it done and finally be done with the entire closeout process. But we are, for all intents and purposes, starting to wrap this thing up. High school update. Last month, we had our conference room that was set in the main office, and I think there's 4 other conference rooms throughout the building that they established. We now have furniture, and we look like a professional organization with real nice conference tables finally, instead of just pieces and parts of tables and chairs put together. In the media center, they are taking this is actually just off of the media center. The special ed classroom is being put together. This is an observation window. You can see it framed in, but there's a few other details. A lot of other spaces going in, but it's all framing. You can't really tell much by it, but special ed classrooms are taking shape. This is it back in the media. That's the other end of the special ed classroom, going down looking the other direction. We are into the media center. Those double doors right there used to be the main entrance. They still are the main entrance to the media center, but they're just in the middle of their construction. They got stuff everywhere throughout this area. Ductwork going in, so they're beyond the demo. They're putting in, obviously, their studs. They're putting in ductwork. They're moving along very well. In fact, a couple pieces of Phase 7 of our 7-phase project were done ahead of time, including work out in the hallway outside the media center. The courtyard was completed as well. So now they are simply working inside the media center and that bridge that connects the upper level of the media center to the 800 wing. Upstairs, they're framing up the rooms, the collaboration spaces that we've created in the media center. More framing for different areas. The Strongsville Cafe will be in this area here in the future. I'm not sure if the name's Strongsville Cafe, but the cafe piece that's in the media center.
Horsepower Cafe.
That's another option too. This is our bridge going between the upper level of the media center and over to the 800 wing that for years have always been a condensation magnet, and they are working on the installation and to make sure this area here is a tightly sealed up area that is going to be a lot more conducive to kids instead of having a wet floor all the time during certain kinds of weather. So we're addressing a lot of issues with our building. There's another angle from looking at the front of this whole thing, same thing. They're working on, they've taken all the stuff off. They're putting some insulation on. They've got a lot of insulation to put up underneath it. They'll seal it all up and make sure it's weather tight. But what's next at the high school? The new goal is to be done in the media center before the end of the calendar year, around the holidays, instead of February like it was originally planned. We are ahead of schedule. The next construction update may be in January 2017 because showing you more drywall going up and more paint going on the walls, I think we're probably done with that right now unless there's a need for it. But I think we're in good shape as far as construction updates go. And once again, the project closeout process, the punch list items will be coordinated with building staff and the contractor. And we're already working on that with the assistant principal and the head custodian in the building, working on list, and we're pushing the contractor to make sure we get everything that we need. And the 11-month walkthrough will be completed in phases, mostly because the building was completed in phases. And as we close out one area that was completed, phases 1, 2, and 3, walkthrough is very shortly. But we are in very good shape. We're working on the final projects, final things we want to address, and I think most people are very, very happy with the progress. Unless there's a few questions, that is the end of the construction updates.
One comment before George. I did walk in during the Pops Orchestra tour before that on Sunday. I was walking through and I saw a gentleman on his hands and knees in the gym at the middle school, and he was crawling around. I'm like, what are you doing? And he said, I put in floors, and so I wanted to take a look at this. And so he was looking at it, he goes, this is nice work. I'm like, thank you very much for that compliment. But he was checking it out pretty close. And then one of my last appeal to put the Mustang back in the entranceway at the high school.
To switch the subject, the bollards, the security bollards will be at the front entrance in the next couple of weeks. They were a long lead item, but those items are coming in. They will be in. I was waiting for you to ask that question. So they are there. They'll be in the next couple of weeks and installed.
How about the middle school?
Middle school, we should have all,
They're there, they're just waiting to finish, now that they're working on the island and finishing that, then they'll be installed.
Okay, so everybody knows what we're talking about. Safety and security for the kids is first and foremost, and for the staff. And so we've made it a point to make sure there was adequate lighting and adequate, these bollards are the safety posts, the big posts that prevent vehicle intrusion into an entryway. And so that's what we did a modification to the contracts to make sure they were available at both the high school and the middle school. And that's what we're talking about.
That's why I want the
actually,
Mustang.
they round balls.
That's why I want the Mustang in the center. It's that last stopper, you know, the,
No, I agree with George, it needs to go in the horsepower cafe. So, but we won't serve horse meat. Mark, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
The missing light on the bridge at the high school, when is that due in?
That's scheduled to be in November 1st, and I'm not sure why it's behind the game with all the other lights. Maybe it was a change order that was approved later, I'm not
I heard
sure.
it was damaged when it came in and they went to get a new one. So if you wouldn't mind putting a little heat under some keisters, I would appreciate it. That should be in before the next home game.
And I'm not making excuses, Colonel. The lead time on a light pole is 12 weeks, or was it 12 to 16 weeks for a light pole? I'm just letting you know that.
You're just a messenger. I see the big M on your chest.
So I just want to let you know it's on its way.
But it was good that we had all the lights on the parking lot the last home game.
yep, look
But,
good.
you know, with winter coming on, that's a safety item, and that's got to be a priority.
I agree 100%. We're working on it, although the manufacturer and the lead time is, that's an uphill battle. We'll get it here as soon as we
Sometimes a phone
can.
call gets you put to the head of the line. Second question, have you heard anything about the flagpole?
I don't have an update on that.
No,
Okay,
I
that's
could-
Riachi.
Yeah, I could talk to Roger, I haven't heard an update recently either.
Okay, it was due in this week, as far as
Yeah,
I knew.
that's what I heard.
There was a flag flying on the little flagpole today, which was nice.
Good, that's good.
I do have an additional announcement. All this summer, with all the moves, all the closing of the buildings, cleaning out Center, cleaning out the old board building, Pupil Services, and Drake, we've had auctions and selling off of equipment. On September 24th, Saturday, we are having the auction of loose furnishings at Albion. If anybody's interested in picking up some school furniture, tables, desks, chairs, lots of student desks, please come to the auction and bid on items. Very favorable prices. If you're interested in any school items, we just need to empty the building out. Your help would be appreciated.
24th?
September 24th. The doors open at 8:30 for viewing and registration. Walk around the building, kind of get an idea what your strategy would be on whatever you want to bid on. I think the bidding will start either 10 or 10:30, depending upon the auctioneer's time schedule. We'll probably close the doors that day at 5 o'clock and allow access on Monday and Tuesday after that to come in and pick up auction items that were purchased you couldn't get out of the building on Saturday. Then on with my presentation, item 2, bus routes and stops. This is an annual agenda item to approve all the bus stops that the Transportation Department has worked on for all the different levels of transportation, for the kindergarten through 5th grade routes, through the middle school routes and the high school routes, plus the non-public school routes, et cetera, that we do. We have bus stops all over the city. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that all bus routes and bus stops presented by the Transportation Department for the 2016-17 school year be approved, and that the business services manager and the supervisor of transportation be authorized to adjust the routes and stops as necessary during the school year. And the final item, we have gifts to recognize that different donors have given to the district and different programs within the school system. Fabrizi Trucking and Paving Company, Inc., donated $1,750 to be used towards purchase of school-themed T-shirts for district staff. Serpentini Chevrolet donated $1,750 to be used towards the purchase of school-themed T-shirts for district staff as well. Mr. T. Lane donated a $50 Staples gift card to be used for supplies for Soror Elementary students in need. Excuse me. The Rotary Club of Strongsville donated miscellaneous back-to-school supplies to the Strongsville Early Learning Preschool and all district elementary schools and the Strongsville Middle School. Saints Joseph and John Catholic Church donated miscellaneous back-to-school supplies for Kinsner and Whitney elementary students. Jeff Ellis International Karate Center donated miscellaneous back-to-school supplies for Moraski, Soror, and Whitney elementary students. And unless there are other questions, that finishes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. At this time, Erin Green, Director of Curriculum, will come up with her report. Erin?
Good evening. I have just one item tonight under curriculum for you, and that is a recommendation to enter into an interdistrict service area contract with the Educational Service Center of Cuyahoga County for the 2016-17 school year. That is outlined in Exhibit D. And as you can see, what that covers are some teachers for visually impaired, hearing impaired, interpreters. We have our 2 English language learner teachers, an audiologist, and a gifted education coordinator. Any questions on that one? Okay, thank you.
What fund does that, George, what fund does that come out of?
It comes out of the general fund.
It comes out of the general fund? Okay.
Yeah, it's, we have it budgeted under the superintendent's budget department.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Erin. Next, we have Andy Trujillo, Director of Special Education, with this month's Student Service Report.
Good evening, members of the board. I have 3 items for you this evening. The first 2 are pretty identical. They are 2 contracts for students that were educating at Monarch School. Contracts are in Exhibit E and Exhibit F. And lastly, a tuition-free admission for a foreign exchange student from France. Any questions on any 3 of those items?
Just a comment that student from France is a Rotarian transfer, so just kudos to Strongsville Rotary.
Sacre bleu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Andy, just one, how was the start of the year? How is your department doing? I mean, how's everything?
We're doing fabulous.
You're
Thanks
doing
for asking.
fabulous? You got
Well,
That's a good answer.
Well, as you've probably seen from my weekly newsletters, and you'll see tomorrow morning when that one goes out at 6:30 a.m., that we are engrossed in our corrective action plan through our audit from the state. So 2 main areas we're focused in on right now is the systemic cap, which if you have 30% noncompliance or over, you have to have a systemic plan that goes into effect, and that's due to the state October 6th. And then individual corrections, any noncompliance with individual records of students, that has to be completed by November, and that process is started this week in terms of communicating to parents and staff, that whole planning. We started planning as a department in August, but we're just rolling that out this week.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And finally, Jenny Pelko, Assistant Superintendent with the Human Resource Report.
Thank you, Mr. Ryba. Good evening, everyone. Under Human Resources, I have the following recommendations. E1, we have 2 resignations. Jennifer Orlowski, a custodian from Kinsner and Sarar, and also Gloria Snow, cafeteria manager assigned to Strongsville High School. Under E2, I have, I believe, 21 certificated substitutes. And also, we have about 20 non-certificated substitutes. I will have to say that our substitute pool is continuing to grow, which is good, making sure that when our teachers need to be out, that their classes are covered. Under E2, I have the following certificated supplemental contracts, and then I also have non-certificated supplemental contracts. Continuing there, additional certificated supplemental contracts, and then 1 non-certificated supplemental contract. Under E3, we have several changes in status for our non-certificated staff. Under E4, I have a few changes in hours for our non-certificated staff. Under E5, we have our administrative salary upgrades. We also continue with our certificated salary upgrades. Under E6, I have 1 certificated stipend for our mentoring committee, followed by our stipends for our certificated resident educator program. We have 1 for our resident educator program coordinator, and then we also have the following assigned resident educator mentors for this year. We also have stipends for our new certificated technology coaches. We have one stipend for our non-certificated food services department due to the recommendation of uniforms that they are now all wearing as cafeteria employees. I have the following stipends for our special education department, which was funded by Title II-A. This is for training for registered behavior technician for our autism spectrum classrooms for our one certified teacher and non-certificated aides. Under E7, we have the service agreement for McKeon Education Group. This is for partnership with St. Joseph and John for intervention services. Under E8, we have a service agreement for our McKeon Education Group, which is a revised contract for district therapy and tutoring service, which was a decrease there. Under E9, we have a service agreement for our Spanish First class at St. Joseph and John School. Under E10, the following non-certificated medical leaves. Under E11, we have a few non-certificated unpaid medical leaves. And under E12, I have volunteer coaches, continued with our volunteer chaperones. And that concludes my report, unless you have any questions.
I do not. Anyone? Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. And we don't have any report under technology, as Vicki shared through the one-to-one earlier. And with that, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Excellent. Richard Polaris?
Thank you, Carl. For my program overview or program highlight, tonight I'm highlighting the medical professions program. It teaches students, high school students, they perform routine administrative and clinical procedures, help offices and clinics of physicians, whether it be physicians, podiatrists, chiropractors, optometrists. The coursework includes anatomy and physiology, medical ethics, medical terminology, office procedures, medical records, laboratory skills, personal health care. There is a lot of hands-on instruction. It's intended to prepare students to provide nursing care in either a skilled nursing care facility or a hospital. And the students are given an opportunity, if they complete the program, to become a STNA, a state-tested nursing assistant. Currently, the program is taught by Lisa Calderon, and she has taught medical professions for 25 years. She has spent over 32 years in all aspects of hospital, bedside nursing care and supervision, training at critical care, pediatrics, and oncology. She holds an RN degree from Cleveland Metro Health Medical Center School of Nursing and a Bachelor's of Science from Kent State University. She's also a certified medical assistant, a licensed practical nurse, and a basic cardiac life support instructor, and a first aid and safety instructor. And our highlight of a Strongsville student, they are two Strongsville seniors. They happen to be twins, Mackenzie and Michaela King. They're model students in the medical profession program. They're both tops in their respective classes. They're student ambassadors at Polaris, and they're very active in the community, and they both plan on pursuing a nursing career. So it's a great building block for that career, and they're both currently exploring what their college options are and where they want to go to college. Continuing my Polaris update, I just want to announce that there's a Polaris Clam Bake, September 23rd from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. That's next Friday. Perhaps the teachers can do their Pro Dev Day, and then if they're still hungry, they can go to the Clam Bake. It benefits the Citizens for Career Technical Education, but the Clam Bake is done by Chef O and all the students, and it is a great time, and it's $40 a person. If anybody wants tickets, please feel free to contact me. Second last, I want to announce that last month, Ed Sinnenberg, Mr. Yeager, who is the instructor for the Electronics and Alternative Energy program at Polaris, was honored by Treasurer Mandel's office with the Ohio Strong Initiative, and he was recognized as a key educator teaching students in the manufacturing and skilled trades. But he has, Treasurer Mandel came to Polaris, or Representative Treasurer Mandel came to Polaris last month and gave him that award, and it's the, one of the first educators to receive that award. So we're all very proud of Mr. Yeager. And then my highlight for the day is our September 2016 edition of the Compass, which most of you received in the mail. Our sparkling model happens to be Grant, who is a Strongsville graduate, and we highlighted him, I think it was 2 months ago, and I know his mom is going to be very proud, again, to have him representing not only Strongsville, but Polaris so well. And that concludes my Polaris report.
Thank you. We'll move right into legislation.
I do. The state legislature is still on recess. It is campaign or silly season or whatever else you'd like to call it. So everyone's busy doing that. But I do want to highlight the Department of Education has been doing a bunch of seminars on the Every Student Succeeds Act. And if you are interested, you can go to the education.ohio.gov, and there is a link on their main page for Every Student Succeeds. And they're doing a bunch of YouTube, not conferences, but seminars, et cetera. They're going throughout the state, gearing the state up for the changes that'll be coming with the Every Student Succeeds Act. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. That brings us to board liaison reports. Jane?
No.
No, actually Duke attended city
Duke?
council.
Ah,
yes.
Duke.
Yeah, I went to the last meeting at city council. There was about 4 things that came up that might be of interest to folks. First of all, in their inimitable form, the Cleveland Water Department failed to bill sewer to certain businesses and things for over 10 years. And so there were taxes that were not collected, and the city is in the process of trying to get back what we were owed. So I'm sure all of you have the same regard for Cleveland Water that I do. Rain barrels. There are new ordinances from the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, another group of our friends that raised our water rates. There are rules about rain barrels, and if you have one on your house, you plan to put one on your house, please check out the rules first so you don't get in trouble with these new ordinances. Ohio has, I guess, a medical marijuana facility rule or whatever, but there's state rules that have to be decided, and so the city put any action on the city's behalf on hold for 6 months. So they're waiting to see what the state comes out with. Probably the biggest issue of the night, which I'm sure is near and dear to everybody's heart, is the slip ramp idea from 82 to Howe Road and I-71. And the emphasis from the evening, and there was quite a few, there was a full house there at City Hall. But I have the paper I picked up here. It says, putting all ideas back on the table. I will leave this up here if anybody wants to look at it real quick. They brought in an engineering/PR firm to reassure residents that all options are still on the table, that they're in the preliminary stages of doing evaluations, and that citizen input is welcomed. And but there was quite a bit of emotion and quite a bit of strong feelings about the slip ramp. And so if you live near Howe Road or Shermer or any of the roads that would be affected by this, certainly I would suggest that taking an active role and participating is in your interest. And that will be, I'm sure, ongoing at every city council meeting now until there's a decision made, which, by the way, probably won't be for over a year. It's that far out. But I think there is information there's misinformation out there about what the options are, what ODOT is offering to the city, and what the other organizations involved, the county and some of the other funding sources, the constraints that are being put on the city and on our council and mayor. So it's in everybody's interest to get the true information as best you can and then make an informed decision. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Education, Strongsville Education Foundation?
Well, I know you're probably going to say something about the wonderful event we had on Sunday. Everybody probably knows we had the Cleveland Orchestra Pops Orchestra come in, and also had an open house from 12 to 3:30 with Olympia providing ice cream, social for everybody. Toured the new middle school, and then we had a very, very wonderful concert from the Cleveland Pops Orchestra featuring a lot of a vast variety of music, a lot of patriotic music. Of course, it was 9/11. So it was a very fitting tribute, I think, on that day, and I think everybody, I know everybody here had a great time, and I think that the citizens that attended had a great time as well. It was also the culmination of Strongsville's 200th birthday party, and I think it was the kind of event that we can look forward to, now having 2 800-seat theaters in our city that we can use. The new middle school theater is absolutely gorgeous, and acoustics were good. And so it's a great place, and we hope that they come back next year for another concert.
That'd be great. And our own Cameron Ryba was demonstrating his musical ability up on stage.
Yes, he was.
Made my family very proud.
I think, I have to say, your musical ability outshined the mayor's musical ability. He needed a little help with getting in sync with the music, but.
I let him know that afterwards.
Did you?
Yeah.
Excellent,
Yeah,
nice job.
absolutely.
As far as the Education Foundation, the car raffle is in full go mode, so if you're interested, the tickets are $10. There's a lot of people selling them. It's a beautiful little car. It'd be a nice item to win. I know that it's being coordinated by Andy, our athletic director. I'd love to get an update on ticket sales, just to know how we're doing. I think I talked with Dan Martin, and he thought that on his side, they were doing a good job selling tickets. I just want to make sure that we're doing what we can to sell those tickets.
Absolutely, and we have we have a lot of athletic teams in every building selling them. So different buildings are starting it at different times. I was
Okay.
at one building that, they're going to do a 2-week push for it, and it's going to be a little bit later. But yeah, next board meeting we can get an update as
Yeah,
to where
update.
we're at with those.
Okay, excellent.
I know there's 5,000 tickets out there in the district that are being sold from various locations. So contact your school. You can always go to the athletic office at the high school. They have tickets for sale, and like you said, at most events, they'll be at breakfast at the Bridge, which I believe is this weekend.
Yep, this Sunday.
They'll have the car there. So it's all around town, and most days it's parked at Olympia, if anybody would like to purchase a ticket.
Excellent.
And if I could just highlight Olympia for donating all that ice cream. That poor guy was dishing out ice cream from 12, he went through like gallons and gallons and gallons, and he's just a local guy, local business down the street, and he gives back to the school district and the school. So it was just really nice to see him there. He was working hard.
The line never stopped. It was like,
It was
like
huge.
30 deep. you know?
Yeah.
It took me like 4 times. It took me to get through like 4 times, took me so long.
Well,
So please
all of our
support those lo-
businesses, all
Please.
of our businesses, right?
Yeah.
The ones that supported the turfing of the fields, Olympia that supported the event at the middle school. Anybody that hears this, please try to support them, our local businesses, because they deserve your business and your dollars.
Well said, dude.
Jane, PTA?
Yes, PTA is in full swing, and their first event is Rockin' at the Rec. And for those of you that aren't familiar, Rockin' at the Rec is a theme dance for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders that are Strongsville students. You don't have to attend Strongsville City Schools. But it's not nice that all the students are in one building, because the tickets can be sold at school now rather than in the evening at the rec center. So tickets are not sold at the rec center any longer. The first dance is tomorrow night, and the theme is school spirit wear. So if you're interested, they also are selling blocks of tickets for every single dance at $40. Tickets are $5 in advance and $10 at the door. So go and support that dance. All of the proceeds do benefit different programs and grants that the PTA gives throughout the school year. And then I wanted to highlight the Strongsville High School PTA is having a fundraiser. It's in connection with the Easter Seals. And Easter Seals will be bringing a truck to the high school Friday, October 7th. and Saturday, October 8th, and they're collecting clothing, and this year they're also collecting games and books, CDs, DVDs, even VHS tapes. So clean out your houses and bring those in, and then the high school will be getting money based on how much weight is actually collected. So they weigh the truck and they say, okay, you get this much money. So it's a little different fundraiser. Rather than having the high school kids sell something, everybody can clean out their house and bring it to the high school on October 7th and 8th.
Can we throw school furniture that doesn't get sold at the auction in those bins? It's quite heavy.
Pots, pans, silverware, dishes, picture frames, knickknacks, jewelry. So it's
Jewelry,
heavy items, lead, no.
Excellent.
batteries.
And then for our student achievement this month, I'd like to highlight a teacher from our Kinsner Elementary School. School is just getting underway, but the 4th grade math classes at Kinsner are in full swing with teacher Jamie Bailey. She teaches all of the math classes to the 4th graders at Kinsner. And she utilizes various techniques and strategies to ensure that her 4th grade students learn all of the concepts. She starts with a pretest, so she knows where they all are, and then she uses the guided math approach, and she has rotating centers and games, and she's been known to sing a few bars of things, trying to encourage the children to learn. And she's also found that sometimes students learn better by teaching themselves, so they learn the concept and then they teach it to a friend, and then they can bounce off the ideas and reinforce those concepts. And she's had great success with her math program in the 4th grade. So I just want to thank Jamie for all of her efforts, and hopefully it'll be contagious and spread throughout the rest of the district.
Thank you. Nice job, Jane. That brings us to board committees. There wasn't a finance committee meeting, facilities committee meeting? I don't think so. Policy committee?
There was not a meeting, but we do have a board policy on the agenda tonight. And I can
Just go right to that, yep.
now?
Yeah, sure.
So it is our standards-based school counselor evaluation. We're waiving second and third readings because state law, we have to get this on the books before the end of the month, and this is our opportunity to do it. It gives us a policy to evaluate all of our school counselors. It's modeled after the way we evaluate our teachers, et cetera. The policy committee has had a chance to review it. It flows the same, from the same vein as our teacher-based evaluation instruments, and I think it'll be good to have it in place and start using it.
Excellent.
And that, just to be clear, we evaluated our counselors before. We're going to continue to evaluate our counselors. We now have a policy to guide us and make sure we have a rubric and a method to do that well.
We have to have a vote on this item.
So moved.
Duke, thank you for the motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Any further discussion on that policy? Let's take a vote. George?
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Excellent. With that, we'll backtrack up to item 15, the consent calendar. All items with the asterisk get approved in a single vote. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you, George. I don't believe we had any modifications to any items with asterisks, so unless there's any discussion on any of those items, or anyone would like to remove one of those items, let's take roll.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Excellent. That brings us to Board of Education Other. I'll lead it off with an apology to the rest of my board members. I did not get the memo that tonight was picture night and that I was supposed to dress appropriately, and I came from my daughter's cheerleading at the 9th grade football game, which we beat Shaker in a very good game tonight, so that was excellent. But I apologize. Everyone looks so nice, and I don't, and I will make it up to you next week, or whenever you guys redesignate. So I apologize
You
for
gotta
that.
make it up to George. He needs your picture.
I know. Anybody else have any others?
I think Scott can still take it after the meeting.
I do.
Photoshop in a tie and a better-looking jacket.
2 weeks from today is the Taste of Strongsville. It's an annual event by Strongsville Rotary. It's held at Petiti's. We clear off one section of their greenhouse. We're very fortunate to have George Schindler, who is a part owner of Blue Point, the hospitality group, and him and all his friends bring in finger foods and wine and everything else, and all proceeds, 100% of all the proceeds go to the Strongsville Food Bank. So it's a wonderful, fun event. It is, if you need tickets, please email me, ask me or George, down the other end of the table. But it's 2 weeks from tonight, from 6 to 11. It's a really fun time. And last year, me and Mr. Naso happened to win the Napa trip, and we went to, on Strongsville Rotary, we went and visited Napa with our wives and had a really good time. So
Awesome.
that raffle is still going. We're only selling 200 tickets, and I think we've got 105 sold. So you have 1 out of 200 chance of getting an all-expense-paid 5 days to Napa Valley.
It's an incredible trip, well worth the $100 gamble. It's the best odds you're going to get,
Yeah.
so it was pretty good. But I bought another ticket, so, you know. Also, we have breakfast on the bridge this Sunday. I believe it goes from 7:30 to 12:30. And then immediately after that is the day at the chalet. Both really cool events, and so there's a lot going on this weekend.
And the 24th and 25th is the Historical Society Harvest
yeah.
Festival. It's a free event for the community, and it's a great way to continue to celebrate our bicentennial. There'll be some extra special things going on, so I hope you all can make it to the village. If you've never been there, come to the village. It's right across the street from the brand-new middle school,
Jane, what times?
11 to 5.
11 to 5.
That is fun.
And we have a cow pie raffle lottery. Do you know about the cow pie lottery?
No.
For $5, you can buy a ticket, and hopefully the cow will make its doo-doo on your square, and you can win $1,000. And last year, Andy Jalwan won $1,000.
Wow.
Did he really?
And a couple years prior to that, John Kropinski won $1,000.
I'm in.
You're in.
I mean,
And Ray Cantwell has won before as well.
You deal with crap all the time,
So being
Cameron,
affiliated with the school district gives you good odds.
That's,
I didn't hear what you want to say there.
okay, with that, we'll move on to meeting
Okay.
notes. With that, we'll move on to,
We only sell 500 tickets.
yeah, we'll do that. We're still working on that, man, I'm not done. With that, we've got a regular board meeting, which is normally on Thursday, October 6th would be the normal date, but we've moved it to October 5th. So just to make note that the first Thursday is the 6th, but we're going to meet on the 5th, mostly so that we can all go to the Savor, so, which George described, so. You thinking about something, Jenny? No. Oh. I was like, I thought I misspoke. So we have that, and then there's another, the following meeting will be October 20th at 7 PM. Both those meetings are here. We do have need for executive session this evening.
We have 3 items, Mr. Naso, to consider the appointment of a public employee or official, to consider the sale of property at competitive bidding, and to discuss details relative to the security arrangements and emergency response protocols for the Board of Education.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, George. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Duke. Any discussion? We will, oh, let's take a vote. George?
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Enter an executive session at 8:29, or no, 8:35.
8:35. We will resume, we will have business subsequent to that, so we will come back and conduct business after. I don't know what time that'll be, but
Will the second portion of our meeting that we come back be televised, and will it be taped, or how will that be?
Yeah, it will be,
Okay, just so people are aware.
yeah. It will be taped and aired whenever Scott airs it.
All right, thank you.
thank you. Note that the board has, what time is it?
10:07.
We reconvened for business at 10:07. The board has elected to consider this, to defer this decision until Monday at a special board meeting at 7 o'clock PM
PM,
in this same location.
right here. Right here.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Roll.
Can you just clarify which of the three things you're referring?
Do-
Executive session for three.
Well said, well said.
Oh, there were the two other issues had nothing to do with, they were for the, for security of a student, and the second one was for personnel decision, and the third was a sale of property.
And
the
that's
only
what's
thing that
being
we're deferring
deferred.
is for the
That's
sale
what's being
property.
deferred to
The other
Monday.
decisions were all.
There were no decisions, it was just executive session.
Roll.
They roll. And
Mr. Grozan?
Yes?
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned at 10:08.